Alrighty, and I think we are live, so let me bring up everything. Welcome everybody to Survive Talks episode 9. This is probably other than the World War II subject that I did with Baboom, this will probably be the most I guess offensive, triggering. I don't know what you want to call it. This is a very controversial episode, and today we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat 11's female skin discussion. But before we start this, there is something that I want to talk about that's going to actually be, it'll be more built upon in the point of, after the introduction. But since this is a very controversial subject, I do want to say this. There are people that are like this out there. With my guest today, of course, everybody knows him as Razor from the Nethercast. He, of course, has his own show on the Nethercast. So what I do want to say is that, you can come to this podcast, you can dislike it, you can throw a hateful comment. I'm just going to keep it up there. I don't give a shit. But under no circumstances should you go up to Cyborg from the Nethercast, should you throw any hate at the Nethercast podcast or anything of that fashion. This is Razor's views alone. This does not, this does not mean the core value, or, well, basically the values of the Nethercast. Everybody has their own opinion. So whatever you do, do not throw any shade at the Nethercast for what Razor says. So, I
intend to keep it fairly classy. I don't think I'm going to say anything too,
oh yeah, I know, but
deserving, but
knowing my generation, we kind of fucked everything. So yeah, since that's out of the way, Razor, of course, as we do with every Survive Talks episode, introduce who you are, what era you were in, and what's your first experience with Mortal Kombat, or actually your favorite memory, or both. Doesn't really matter.
Okay, well, I am Razor. I am one of the 4 main hosts of the Nethercast podcast, which you can find on YouTube, iTunes. We have articles advertising our show on the Warrior, on Test Your Might all the time. So, I don't know, I assume some MK fans out there have heard of us. So my history with the franchise goes pretty much all the way back to the beginning, like the MK1 and 2 days in the arcade. I'm almost 35 years old, so I've been at it for a while. I was like 10 or 12 when those games came out, and I was pretty much attracted immediately to, first of all, it was kind of the age of, like, colorful ninjas. Like, you had the Ninja Turtles, you had Power Rangers, and you had Mortal Kombat. So, if you were a fan of any of those 3 things, you were probably tangentially a fan of the others as well when you were a kid. But on top of that, just like the game was so unique from everything else you'd see in the arcade because of the graphics, and they weren't just realistic, they were extremely colorful, very bright and saturated and attention grabbing, and it was really, the character designs were the first thing that were probably most likely to hook you. They were the first things that hooked me. So, costume design is a huge part of why I'm a fan of the series. And so, in my professional life, I am something of a writer and an artist, so those interests and those tastes have carried forward my entire life to now, to where, like, this is why I care so much about what the characters look like, I suppose.
Absolutely, and it's like me even though I started in Trilogy, that was the first game I've ever played. It's I grew up with the 3D era, and in my honest opinion, the classic characters got the best treatment when it came to costume design of that era.
Oh yeah. I mean, for one thing, if you were a pre-existing character going into the 3D games, it was a lot easier for them to design for you because they knew what you should look like. Whereas when you're making a new character from scratch, you have to make it all up right there, and it's sort of like, what ideas have we not done yet, and stuff like that. You know, they've been running out of new ideas, I think, for a while, and that made it hard to come up with characters like, say, Dairu, who doesn't really have anything about him that stands out, and it continues today, where I would make the same argument of Cassie and Jackie don't really stand out that much from their parents. They're not unique enough.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna bring that point up. That's a definite point that I'll bring up later in this podcast. I brought it up yesterday when I was on Legend X Ronin's discussion about the unpopular opinions of Mortal Kombat, or Mortal Kombat Edition, and I talked about Jackie's character and how she probably should have gotten Jax's story. And it sounds weird, but once you put it together, it's not that bad. So yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I mean, I have several ideas for how you could improve those characters. Like, I strongly believe in the philosophy that you should never write off a character and just throw them in the trash. Like, I think you can bring back Su Hao and fix him and make him good. I think, like, if you look back at, like, the MK3 days, everybody really hated Stryker. They hated Stryker as much as they hate Jarek, as much as they hate Su Hao, and MK9 was like, you know what, we can fix this guy. And it's just a matter of wanting to do that, and they don't seem to want to with the 3D characters.
Yeah,
and that's a shame, because, like, I grew up, I started with the arcade games, but I think that Deadly Alliance and Deception are absolutely in the same tone as, like, MK1 and 2. I think that they are worthy successors, that they are good sequels. I think the storytelling actually improved drastically in Deadly Alliance from the previous games, and I think that the reboot era has been kind of a step down from a bar that was set very high by the writing in Deadly Alliance.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I even said on the unpopular opinions that I actually do not like the new timeline. With all the problems that it had in the original timeline, I would have rather taken that than what we have now. And once I said, like, Shinnok should have won because he had Liu Kang in his arsenal, you start seeing the problems with the Mortal Kombat new timeline story. And
the problem with the new timeline that really keeps coming back up for me and ruins it for me is just that there's nothing consistent in this timeline. Every game they put out retcons the hell out of the game they just previously put out. Like, they don't even wait one title before they start retconning it. And it's
Scarlet.
Yeah, exactly. Like Scarlet,
which I'll be talking about in later.
Aaron Black has a new bio that is completely different from what his bio was in MKX. Like, what is the point of having a continuity? Like, the reason the concept of a continuity exists is so, like, it feels like it means something when you follow from the beginning to the end. But these games, every game feels like it takes place in its own different universe. Like, yeah. They're not sequels to each other. They're each a new, like, every single game is a reboot.
Yeah, and that's why I don't like the multiverse idea. It makes it feel like, oh, we're just gonna have another comic book universe again. Oh god, yeah. I don't really want that for Mortal Kombat.
I mean, one of the big inspirations for what they did in 9 was how J.J. Abrams rebooted Star Trek. And I gotta tell you, as a Star Trek fan, that's not a good example to follow. Like, you shouldn't be doing that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, just have one story and tell it from beginning to end. The whole the emotional reward that comes from watching characters grow is what storytelling is about. That's why we enjoy following things that last for 10, 20, 30 years, is because we get to see the changes. I want to see Sub-Zero start as that young rookie who like Kuai Liang started out in the Lin Kuei and he didn't like enjoy killing people. He did it because he had to, and he's thinking like, this isn't really what I want to do, but do I have a choice? And then he has to leave the clan. He has to quit because he doesn't want to be turned into a robot. And then, he's on his own for a while, and then he decides, no, I should own it. I should go back and take over the clan. And, to see him grow older and wiser and progress in his life, and then take on an apprentice like Frost. And, even though she turns on him and it goes bad, that's still progress in his life. And then he goes into deception and he finds out about his heritage, and he, gets that armor. And we still haven't seen him get that armor in this timeline. He is less developed right now than he was several games ago. And it's like, why would you ever want to go backwards? Why would you ever want to see a story you've already seen twice? Just keep going forward. Armageddon should not have resulted in a reboot. They just should have had, like, Taven beat Blaze. Some good guys die, some bad guys die, and then you make a sequel. You don't make it the end of the world.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Like Mortal Kombat X, I think disappointed me the most out of any game. The only thing that I actually like from X is Hanzo and Kuai Liang actually squashing the beef. Like it. At that moment, I was like, yes, this is a positive point. And I bet they're going to probably squash that.
Well, I don't know. I think we have seen the two of them working together to fight the Cyber Initiative. So I think at least like the present day versions of Scorpion and Sub-Zero will continue to be on the same side, and that's a good thing. And it is nice to see that progress. I agree with you. I think Scorpion's chapter is the best part of MKX story mode. I wouldn't say that none of the rest of it is good. I do kind of like the fact that they finally hooked Johnny and Sonya up, and that we even got to see like where that relationship would go. Like that Sonya is too much of a bitch for it to work out, and they broke up. I think that actually makes a lot of sense. So I feel like Johnny has moved forward as a character, and Scorpion has moved forward as a character, but most of the cast is less than they were by Armageddon in the old timeline. I think most of them, their character development has not caught up. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Legend X Ronin and Tabmok has joined the chat. So awesome. So yeah, with the speaking about new generation, one of the first points I wanted to get into was and this was going to what I was saying about people attacking other people because of what they say. I do want to ask, like, what happened to the age of discussion? When me and Legend X Ronin, of course, and the other guys, Nick Famous and and History Behind a Warrior, even though we all had like unpopular opinions with each other, we were all able to sit down, listen, and say, okay, here's the problem with this, here's why you're correct on this. It feels like my generation, which of course is Gen Z, I'm actually 19, so I feel like my generation really fucked the age of discussion now.
I think, yeah, there is definitely something wrong with your generation's ability to communicate. I think it's the internet has hurt a lot of that, because you can't really have an intelligent conversation in most places on the web, most message boards. They're really just an environment for trolling, and it's all very black and white. that's sort of a big problem I have with trying to have a conversation about subjects like of, I guess, sexualization, or like what's politically correct, what a character should or should not be wearing in a video game. Like, you can't really talk about it because most of the people on either side have a very, very shallow view of what's important about it, and they don't want to hear the other side. They want to attack them and make them go away. And
Yeah.
they just kind of want to live in their own little sheltered bubble of rarefied air where only their opinion rules.
Absolutely. And it's even come to the point now where it's like nowadays you are basically, if you have a different opinion, you are either something that ends in an ist or a phobic.
Yeah.
You know, racist, homophobic, you know, misogynist. You will be probably, if you talk about anything clothing wise, you will be called an incel. Yeah.
What bothers me about that is there's a level of hypocrisy where these words are thrown around as weapons and they don't stop to think about what they mean, and then sometimes those words end up applying to the person who's using them and they don't even realize it. And a good example I can give for that is okay, so one of the factors of the costume discussion is the fact that, like, a Liu Kang, a Johnny Cage can fight shirtless. Shao Kahn and Goro are nearly naked. Nobody seems to care the way they care about what the women are wearing. And that's not equality. And, you know, that's sort of my problem. Is I go back to, like, the 90s, when I feel like that was sort of the last time that you could talk about something socio-political in a sane way, and people would actually, like, listen to the conversation. And the people who were, like, pushing for what we now call the liberal agenda, back then it was just treating other human beings with respect. It was just simply, you made a cartoon or a TV show like Power Rangers and you had a diverse cast because you wanted kids to see an example of people of many different races and creeds, male and female, and all the different groups are able to get along. They're all worth the same. And I do believe that. I do believe in the concept of equality. But today, that's not really what anybody is talking about. Today, it's more like, fuck the white man, and women and black people should be, like, dominant rather than equal. And it seems like it's, like, coming from a place of anger and wanting revenge or a role reversal, or, like, when's going to be our turn on top, instead of everybody should be at the same level.
Yeah, I will see. And it's like, okay, so one of the people I used to watch, but I still watch on occasion, Ben Shapiro. The moment that you call him a Nazi is kind of like, okay, your argument is now invalid. I don't.
Yeah, people just, they don't know how to talk without name calling because they're not very smart and they haven't been, like, taught. And it's because, again, part of it is being raised with the internet, growing up as a child having that. Like, I didn't have the internet until I was in, you know, like, middle school, high school. Like, so I actually had to learn how to communicate with human beings the right way instead of the way people talk on Twitter.
Yeah. I mean, like, with my situation, you know, even though I was able to use I'm able to use internet as a young age. I think it was like 6 or 7, but my mom at that time was going to college for an English degree. She had like 1 credit left before she could have finished, but she realized she didn't want to do that. My mother taught me how much discussion matters, And that's kind of like the reason why I do live streams, the reason why I do podcasts and all that with different people, is because what my generation doesn't understand is that, you know, if we can't sit down and talk to each other like normal fucking human beings, then we're just going to lose everything. We're just going to go bonkers and end up basically what we're with today. So, I mean,
there was a point in history where the purpose of a debate was to convince somebody of something. Now we have abandoned all belief that anybody can be won over. We're not, like, trying to be diplomats anymore. All debates are just arguments where it's just like you're just shouting what you believe until the other guy gives up and goes away.
Yeah.
Nobody's going into them with an open mind. Nobody's going into the interested in the other side. It's just shouting your opinion until the fight's over.
Yeah.
And I think, like, and a lot of the reason I keep bringing up, like, growing up with the internet is because this is not a new problem where, like, a parent will... When I was a kid, if a bad parent was one who sat their kid down in front of the TV and left the fucking house and let the TV raise their kid. And now that's what the internet does for lazy parents. Like, a parent should be, like, monitoring what their child is doing when they use the computer, and nobody does that.
Basically anything that wasn't Miniclip or Doom was prohibited for me. Now, I did find out what Newgrounds was at a very young age. I regret that. But, yeah, my mom basically monitored everything that I did. Even though I was, like, allowed to play Mortal Kombat, no GTA, no God of War. That was basically the rule, but my stepdad snuck a lot of that in there. But
yeah, I mean, when I was at the age where my parents would have been banning things, video games looked cartoony, so there wasn't really anything. Like, they didn't care about the blood in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna raise a kid on video games, especially stuff like Mortal Kombat, you really do need to do what my mom and my stepdad did, and basically just sit down with the kid, explain, like, this isn't reality, this is just a game and stuff like that. When people do stupid shit in the games, just explain to the kid, like, okay, this it helped me out a lot as a kid. I'm not gonna lie. It's something that, you know, parents are failing to do nowadays. Now it's just, oh, hey, let's just throw these kids, not discipline them, and yeah, everything will work out. No, you need to discipline kids. Trust me on that.
Yeah. Yeah, but, like, I think if I had been playing, like, one of the modern MK games, my parents definitely would have cared about the gore. It would have been a much different conversation than with MK2.
But yeah, I think I sent you the link to the original article.
Yeah.
I think at the original article it's all the way at the bottom. It's where the Jackie, Sonya, and Cassie photo is, and I think it's right above that. Actually, yeah, it is. Or wait, no. Where is that? Okay, yeah, I know it's somewhere in this article.
Are you looking for the exact quote?
Yes, it's designers.
Is it the one? Our character lead, Brendan George, has been a breath of fresh air of just introducing new ideas. Our design is just getting more mature and respectful. You're not going to wear a bikini to a fight.
Yes,
you're not going to be showing so much skin.
Yeah. Bikini. Okay,
so I think
it is under the Cassie photo. Okay, I was looking for that everywhere.
It's near the bottom. Yeah,
okay.
It's the second paragraph under the picture of Cassie and Sonya.
Now, before we start talking about this article, of course, everybody's going to be asking us what are our thoughts of the Mortal Kombat 9 costumes, which, if you don't tell by the fucking thumbnail. I I don't know what to say to you, but yeah, Razor, your thoughts on Mortal Kombat 9's costume?
Right. Well, that is kind of where the conversation starts for a lot of people, is they don't think about what the characters were wearing in the old timeline. So many people started with MK9, and they look at, Kitana is dressed like basically a Middle Eastern harem dancer, as opposed to, like, what she was wearing in MK2 and 3. And it's... a lot of people look at that and they sort of... that's where they started, so now they think that's what the default was supposed to be. That's what MK characters are supposed to look like.
Oh, yeah.
And MK is not dead or alive. MK9 was considered weird and wrong for most of us fans in terms of costume design when it came out. And it wasn't just because the women were overly sexualized, and that is a big part of it. Like, the Sonya wearing those huge stiletto heels and no undershirt with that vest is absurd. It looks like she went to Spirit of Halloween and got the sexy soldier outfit.
Yep, exactly.
It does not... you cannot take that costume seriously. And this is not a problem Sonya had in MK1 and MK3. Like, yes, she's dressed for, like, yoga or aerobics as opposed to, like, a soldier in those games. But she was not scantily clad. It was not overly sexual. She was just wearing athletic wear because she's in a martial arts tournament.
Yeah.
And...
my favorite Sonya costume of all time, it doesn't even matter, even throughout all the games that we've had, Mortal Kombat 3 Sonya. Favorite Sonya.
I think that's probably my favorite Sonya outfit too, but I do enjoy the outfit with the jacket in Deadly Alliance a lot, and the outfit in Sheldon Monks, where her pants are camo pants. They're a bit baggy. I know what
you're talking about. Yeah, with the black
and, like,
band.
So the thing about the thing about these designs for me is not just that they're showing way too much skin. It's the fact that MK9 was a time travel game, that we were revisiting MK1, 2, and 3. And sometimes they call MK9 a reboot, and sometimes it's not. Like, okay, so a real reboot would be to start over from scratch and redesign absolutely everything, anything you want. The past games would not be in continuity, they would not matter. So you could just do whatever costume design off the top of your head based on nothing. That's what a real reboot would do. But MK9's not a real reboot, it's time travel. So they should be wearing something that looks like what they were wearing in MK2, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And so, like... and that's what really bothers me. And I'll even use examples that aren't women to drive this point home. So you look at Johnny Cage and Raiden, and they look a lot like what they wear in Trilogy. They just have a little more detail. You know, Johnny's literally wearing pretty much his MK3 and 4 outfit, just with a belt buckle and a tattoo on his chest, and that's all they changed. But Scorpion doesn't look anything like he did in MK1, 2, or 3. He looks like he skinned a xenomorph and is wearing the skin. He looks like he's got this leather bodysuit, and the leather bodysuit has cancer and is covered with tumors made of leather.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's supposed to make him look more like a bug, like a scorpion. But, you know, it's supposed to look like insect chitin. But... like an exoskeleton. But it really just kind of looks like the leather has cancer.
Yeah.
And honestly, that's all they would have had to do to make it look more appropriate for the time travel theme of the game is to replace the yellow V he has in that game with, like, the black flame designs on it. Take that away and give him a V that has, like, it's more yellow and is quilted. Like the outfit he wears in MK vs. DCU is a perfect redesign of his MK2 costume. If he had worn his versus DCU outfit in MK9, I wouldn't have a problem. But, you know, like, you look at Sindel is wearing what looks like her MK3 outfit, and then you look over at Kitana, and it's like, where the fuck did she get those clothes from? That's not what she had on in those games. And the same problem is coming around again in MK11, where once again we're doing time travel. We're pulling characters from MK1, 2, and 3, and they're all dressed different.
Yeah, now, with your point about the whole reboot, the most perfect example to how to do a reboot properly is Soul Calibur 6.
Soul Calibur 6. I think they took a little too many liberties with Raphael, but almost that entire cast does look like redesigns of Soul Calibur 1 and 2 costumes. They're just about perfect. And another, like, they've done this before successfully in the Mortal Kombat series. Deadly Alliance had retro costumes for Shang Tsung and Kano that looked perfect. Shaolin Monks is a retelling of MK2, and most of the cast is wearing redesigned versions of their MK1 and 2 outfits that look great and that fit the theme of, you know, it's like, you take MK1, 2, and 3, and you don't translate it exactly. You don't do, like, the MK9 retro skins. That's a little too simplistic.
Yeah.
But you take advantage of the better graphics you have to add more detail, but they're still recognizable. You know, they're still similar to what they wore in those original games.
I mean, even if you
and
look
so,
at the
like, to have Shaolin Monks exist as an example of the right way to do it, and set that next to MK9, it becomes more and more obvious how wrong 9 is.
Yeah. And like I said, I believe Tobias wanted to do more with the with what he already made with the characters, but because of the time, I don't think he was able to do it. Think about if he was able to design those costumes today, what he would have done. Like, that the possibilities would have been so amazing for Mortal Kombat 9.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, you look at old concept art, and you see things like in MK2, Liu was gonna have like a dragon logo on his belt, and they just couldn't put it there because it wouldn't have shown up. It's too low resolution. You know, Raiden was gonna fight with a staff, and they had to scrap it and couldn't bring it back until like the demo screens of MK3, and then he couldn't fight with it until MK4. So there's the ideas that they had way back when, and it's just now we have the graphics to realize them. But we are way past that point now. There's too much detail in the current generation games. They're using it as a crutch. You know, the artists are going, we have 1080p, let's fill every goddamn inch of the character with these tiny little jagged bits of armor. And it's like,
no. Absolutely
I
not.
believe that what makes a design iconic is simplicity helps with that. Like, the reason a costume like Superman's or Spider-Man's has stayed the same for, 40, 60, 70 years in some cases is because it sticks in your memory. It's so simple, you can't really forget the details because there's not a lot of little details to forget. Like, a child can draw a picture of Superman. He doesn't have to look it up. But you can't really draw MK9 Scorpion off the top of your head. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, especially in the rib area. I can attest to that. Oh, yeah. God. But yeah, I mean, like, with my opinion on Mortal Kombat 9, I think that, they might have went way too far into the, basically just or basically all skin showing.
It's a lot like, an example I like to use is like, you look at a normal picture of the Flash, and then you look at the New 52 version of the Flash, or the Injustice version of the Flash. Mm-hmm. And if you don't look at that and immediately go, why? What's the point of all these zigzaggy lines? What's this armor even do for him? Like, his power is to run fast. He needs to be flexible.
Yeah.
If you actually like those outfits, I question your taste, man. I can't.
Yeah, and like the only explanation I can think of for why they did costumes like these was because at that time Mortal Kombat was not at a good place. I mean, Mortal Kombat versus DCU sold a lot, but you also have people that, you know, some of the people weren't particularly fans of the 3D era.
I don't know that making Kitana look more dead or alive-ish.
Yeah, I know. I just
increase the sales in a, like, I think really it's just that when something is being advertised, the audience can tell whether it's AAA or not. MK9 looks like a AAA title. Like, it looks like it had a big budget and time was spent on it and it was allowed to finish, whereas the 3D era games all look blatantly unfinished and cheaper than, like, other stuff that was released at the same time they were released. And when you play them, you can feel the jank. Like, the big problem, as much as I love the 3D era, I cannot defend its gameplay. So it's just a matter of, like, you know, the audience can tell how much money this is worth and whether or not it deserves to be successful. And, you know, not that the 3D era games weren't successful, they all sold over 1 million copies. In a lot of cases, they outsold the Tekkens that came out at the same time. But they were not anywhere near what MK9 sold. They didn't sell enough to keep Midway in business. MK9 is simply, you know, it sold what you would expect of, like, a top-tier franchise, like a Call of Duty or a Madden, maybe, you know, stuff that does the big numbers. And I don't know that putting the women's tits out there helped the sales that much, because they're not out there in MKX, and MKX still did pretty similar in sales. Like, I don't think it sold that differently from 9.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I don't expect, you know, for all the complaining for the subject that we're talking about right now, I don't think 11 is going to sell poorly. I don't think there's anybody out there seriously boycotting it whose sales loss would make a dent.
Absolutely not. And it's like, this isn't like a big issue, like, you know, to people that to people who have started in Mortal Kombat 9, to them it's like a big issue because of the because that's all they saw was just Mortal Kombat 9,
that's what I was saying before, that there are a lot of people who entered the franchise with 9, so when they think of Kitana, they think of that outfit, and that's why they're so upset that she doesn't dress like that anymore, or have those giant breasts
knockers
that, you know, I really don't. It's hard for me to appreciate what they see in those character models, because the proportions and the skin texture, the graphics in MK9 do not hold up. They aged very poorly. You look at that scene where Sindel is coming back from the dead in story mode, where she's, like, naked in the desert. Her skin looks like a basketball.
Yeah.
It's super gross. So I can't really look at those models and appreciate the breasts. Like, as much as I may like large breasts on a woman in real life, that's not what I'm seeing when I'm looking at MK9.
Yeah, and, like, the reason why it's a big problem now is because us Mortal Kombat, you know, classic fans, we're how this is sounding to us is that, okay, now you're gonna say this, but what about the classic costumes? What about all this? Which is why in the left side of the thumbnail, I actually put in the Mortal Kombat X Jade to the classic Jades, which, if you guys don't know, of course, the left Jade is the Mortal Kombat 2, and the right Jade is actually from Pop Culture Shock, the statue that I actually have right over here. I love Jade so much that I legit bought a fucking Mortal Kombat 3, or Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, sorry, Jade statue from Pop Culture Shock for like $350. So I love this character a whole lot.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I would say so. When going back to that article, the interview with Steve Barron, where he talked about their new character lead designer Brendan George.
I'm looking at his LinkedIn right now. So apparently he's been working at NetherRealm since 2015, which would have meant that he worked on Injustice 2 and then Mortal Kombat 11, which I wasn't particularly fond of. Injustice.
Yeah, see,
but that's Gear 2. I do not like.
Yeah, Gear. I don't like. I have never liked the art style of the Injustice games, and I have to say, like, I was very relieved that MKX didn't look anything like Injustice 1, and I'm very kind of bothered how similar the graphics in 11 are to Injustice 2. And even beyond any discussion of this guy's opinions of how women should dress, I don't like his work as an artist already.
I'm
not a huge fan of the costumes in 11 in general, and not, just limiting that to the women. I don't really like most of the guys' outfits either. Like, I think, it's hard to screw up Johnny Cage. All you have to do is keep doing the trilogy outfit. So, they're doing all right there in terms of like young Johnny, and young Liu Kang looks good because, again, you're just going back to something that already existed. You can't really screw it up if it was there before you got there. But new outfits. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that, again, 11 is using a lot of time travel. So I look at what they're trying to tell us are remakes of the MK1, 2, and 3 outfits. Scorpion's second costume. Kitana's costume that we saw just recently in the most recent story trailer.
Yeah, ooh, buddy.
Kitana's outfit is worth mentioning because it has a keyhole for her cleavage, and it's skin tight, which means it's not really obscuring the shape of her body. Like, it's just as sexual to be in a skin tight latex bodysuit as it is to be naked.
Yeah.
It's absolutely just as sexual. Like, a fully clothed dominatrix, nobody would say that's not sexual. It's skin tight, and like, and look, that's kind of going back to my sort of hypocrisy thing about how Liu Kang can fight without a shirt on and nobody will think it's about sex, but you put a woman in a gymnast's leotard or a one-piece swimsuit, things that Olympic athletes wear, and someone will still find that sexual.
Yeah. And
that's
I don't know. I'm finding abs pretty sexy now. I'm a straight dude, but gotta. That's hold on. But yeah,
like all I want is, if you're gonna do time travel, make the outfits look familiar. Like, and this again, it's not just the women. Like, I look at what would you call it? Old timeline Raiden or young Raiden? The Raiden from the past, the one who's not dark in this game. He's got his traditional white outfit with blue over top of it, but the blue is now, it's not the V he wore in MK4 or MK9. It's not the apron he wore in MK2. It's more of a sleeveless bathrobe, and he's never really worn that before. And it's like, you had a perfectly fine Raiden outfit in the previous 2 games. Why did you change him?
Yeah.
And then, another good example is... Who was I just going to say? I lost it. Okay, Kano. Kano is wearing the most loyal recreation of his MK3 outfit we've had in these games. You know, he had a version of that outfit in both 9 and X, but it came with the Trevor Goddard hair and beard. This is the first time he actually has the Rich DeVizio shaved look to go with it. And that the fact that his outfit is so loyal to what he was wearing back then, but he's standing next to all these people who are from the same time period but look nothing like they did back then. It's just weird. It stands out.
Yeah, because every quote-unquote classic character basically looks modern.
Yeah, and Kung Lao, I think, is the worst, honestly. Like, Kung Lao, I don't know where they got the idea for that red, white, and blue poncho from, or the fact that his hat is now, he's got, like, I guess I'd call it like a Gambit or Cyclops cowl on under the hat? Why? Who thought that looked good? Much less resembled MK2 and 3. Like, it doesn't do that either, but, like, it also just plain looks ugly.
Yeah.
Why does it exist? Why? In MKX, his tournament skin, his first alt costume, looked almost exactly like a perfect up-resing of his MK2 outfit. Why not just use that again? Why design a new outfit at all when you already have something that works? Why reinvent the wheel? Why fix what isn't broken? And that's what bothers me the most about their costume design philosophy. They can never just leave well enough alone once they get something right.
Yeah. And, you know, so, like, while we're talking about, you know, clothings and stuff, I think we should actually discuss the quote that everybody is losing their shit about.
Yeah.
So the quote is, of course, about is from a Polygon article talking about fatalities.
It's an interview with Steve Barron, and most of it is talking about how they design fatalities.
Yeah.
But then at the very end, he talks about the costumes and their new guy, Brendan George.
Which, if you guys don't know who Steve Barron is, he's been an art director for NetherRealm since, I think, even longer than I've been alive. So he's been working
the first MK game he worked on was MK3. Okay, and so he's actually the guy who created Cabal, Sector, and Cyrax.
And we don't have either, or well, we have one of the three, and a Cyber Lab too.
Well, I'm not gonna rule out DLC considering how much Cyber Ninja stuff we've seen in the game.
Yeah, that's true. Cyber Smoke though, watch it. He'll be from the past.
I'll take Cyber Smoke is my favorite smoke.
I'm just saying, like, just watch it. Like, I think it'll be Sector probably. Even though that Cyrax has more story elements,
I would say Cyrax is probably a little more popular than Sector.
I would say that too.
Especially because, like, just Tournament Legacy, him being so high tier in MK9. And also, I felt like, you know, Triborg was technically its own character and could use all of the moves of the previous Cyber Ninjas, so he had Sector's moves and Cyrax's moves and Smoke's moves. I think of Triborg as being more like Sector than the other characters because of personality, because, you know, you think about it, his story doesn't really make sense. His personality's supposed to be an amalgamation of all the Cyber Ninjas, but all of the Cyber Ninjas except Sector hated being cyborgs, and Triborg likes being a cyborg, so he really, personality-wise, only takes after Sector.
Yeah, and he even does mention Tekunin.
That's another thing. Like, they connected him to the Tekunin, which was Sector's clan in the old timeline. So when I think of Triborg, or when I think of Sector, I feel like he's the one who was in X. So I'd like to see Cyrax in 11, because Sector already kind of had his turn in my mind.
Yeah. But the the quote. So the quote, of course, is our character lead, Brendan George, which, like I said, I've checked his LinkedIn. He's done NetherRealm stuff for the past 4 years, and then he worked on some stuff for Borderlands, the prequel, and the DLC for him, too. So he says, our character lead, Brandon George, has been a breath of fresh air of just introducing new ideas, Barron said. Our design is just getting more mature and respectful, which I'm going to bring a point that Dead or Alive said the same damn thing, and it did not work out for them, just saying. You're not going to wear a bikini to a fight. You're not going to be showing so much skin, which I do have a problem with that quote. I think it's just what the game is about. You're going in to fight for your life, and you're not going to be wearing such scantily clad items. End of quote. Or wait, no. Sorry, not end of quote, actually. I'm sure that will disappoint some fans, which there will be a reason why some of us will be disappointed if the game comes out. We don't have bathing suit fighters, and I think that's fine. If people are disappointed, I don't regret making that change by any means. End of quote.
Yeah, so I think... Okay, so a thing I hear a lot when from the other side of the argument, the side that is for covering the women up more, is that a lot of people use weapons in Mortal Kombat, and so all the fighters should be wearing armor. The counterpoint I would make to that is that MK1 and 2 were about a martial arts tournament. Hand-to-hand combat. The people who use weapons are kind of cheating, and you should not be prepared for them. You should be prepared for the karate guys. And that's why Liu Kang and Johnny Cage fight without a shirt on. Because they came prepared for karate. Not for fucking knights on a horse with swords and shields. Armor doesn't have a whole lot of place in my mind in the realm of Mortal Kombat. Like, there are certain characters where being heavily armored fits them for story and aesthetic reasons, like Hotaru. But the vast majority of MK characters came to do karate. And so they should be dressed for karate.
Sorry.
And he's talking about, you wouldn't wear a bikini to a fight. Technically true. However, if you look at women's UFC, what they wore into the octagon is usually a tiny crop top and short shorts. And that's what is most comfortable for them to fight in. Yeah. Because they came for hand-to-hand combat, where the objective is not to cover yourself up to protect from a sword, it's to have a good range of motion to throw punches and kicks. And, another good example that I always like to use of how a woman should be dressed for a martial arts tournament type environment, like a fighting game, is basically, again, I mentioned this before, Olympic athletes, track and field runners, gymnasts, swimmers. They all have bare legs like Kitana Molina and Jade did in MK2. And, you look at the MK2 outfit, it's a one-piece, it's similar to a one-piece bathing suit. The arms and legs are not covered, but the abs are. It's not like a bikini. It's not like that dancer outfit Kitana wore in MK9. When I look at that outfit, I don't think of anything sexual. I don't see the character as, like, there to titillate me. She's not there to look hot. She's dressed for a fight. I see an athlete. And so to dismiss the MK9 outfits as having gone too far is one thing. But this sounds more to me like he's dismissing the entire history of the game's costume design. Which, again, this game is about time travel. Those characters need to be wearing what they used to wear.
Yeah.
It feels like it's disrespectful to the history of the franchise, which is how I've felt about the fact that they retconned their story every single game for the past 3 games already. I already feel like NRS does not respect Midway.
Yeah.
And as a fan who has been with the franchise since the Midway days, that feels like it's pushing me away. That feels like it's telling me that you have aged out of the bracket that these games are for. We don't want you anymore. We're after new people who didn't play MK2. And if that's the case, then why did you make a game where they're time traveling back to MK2?
Yeah, exactly. And
Why do you keep going back and referencing your old shit if the people who were fans of your old shit aren't, what you want anymore?
And see, talking about like disrespecting the old. Now, I did bring this up a while ago. Dead or Alive tried saying the same shit, that they wanted to be more mature, and it really got them bad. I mean, even I backlashed over it. Even to the point where I said that, or where I redesigned Kasumi into this. Now, it was more Dead or Alive friendly. But because I made this for Dead or Alive, which is something that, even though this is something that, I feel like would respect a Dead or Alive fan, this is not something that I want for Mortal Kombat. I feel like this rendition of Kasumi's costume is more of a hey, let's give some fans of Dead or Alive this.
Yet Dead or Alive has a specific legacy, and I mean, part of that legacy has been making games about beach volleyball. It's not for the same audience that other fighting games are for. And part of the issue with that is, I mean, so much about fighting games' success now requires them to go to tournaments, to be on ESPN sometimes, which means you have to do things like ban people from using certain Armika outfits.
Christ.
Because ESPN doesn't want that. And it's just... The thing is, nobody removed that Armika outfit from the game, okay?
Yeah. And it's like, with my Jade thing, like, basically all I did was give her classic goddamn purple pole, because it is so stupid that they did not do that.
Yeah, I really wonder, like, that's another thing that I wonder if that's a Brendan George thing, because he is new. Maybe he's, rethinking the wheel on too much stuff. Maybe he actually is the guy who decided that her stick should be green now, and it's just like, where are you from, and how are you qualified to work on Mortal Kombat if you
really
don't
hoping that
know the history?
I'm hoping that the gear is like, or to get the purple staff is gear related, because if it's not, and we have to do a skin related,
at that point you're putting continuity behind a gate, because like she has the green one in story mode. What the fuck?
Yeah, but yeah, I basically gave her classic purple pole. I love the braid that she has in game. So instead of that stupid hood look,
well, she does have a they call them shaders, although not all of them change colors. Some of them actually change the outfit.
Yeah,
she does have a version without the hood.
That's what I used for the recreation of this costume. I actually like this costume if it wasn't for the hood. I mean, I'm fine with hoods and all. I mean, fuck, I play Ayame.
I think the hood is... I've seen fan artists for years draw Jade with a hood, because they tend to imagine Jade as her character is kind of like a Amazonian, I would say, archetype. So they tend to draw her looking more like sort of a woodsman hunter sort of thing, and that's where the hood tends to come from in a lot of fan art designs I've seen. So I've seen the hood before. I don't have a problem with the hood. I think the only reason anybody is bothered by the hood is because it seems to have replaced her MK2 costume.
Yeah. Well, no, that's exactly... And this is the closest costume that we're getting to Mortal Kombat 2, too.
Yeah.
And like, even... And the abs, of course, are for my Deception Jade is one of my favorite Jades of all of Mortal Kombat. I love that look of Jade, you know. And by the way, anybody that gets this reference, 20 or 32, 24, 30, or no, is it 24, 32, 24?
Are those the measurements from the time she was on that
Girls Gone Wired?
Yeah.
Yes, that's a reference that I think it's not as iconic as Cooking with Scorpion.
Not so much.
But
I find it weird that they chose Jade for that, because personality-wise, that seems more like Melina's thing.
Yes.
To advertise her body type.
Yeah,
I thought
that was hilarious.
That's another thing about, for me, costume design is a function of storytelling. And I don't know that the designers at NRS get that so much, because it often feels like characters aren't wearing something that fits their personality. Or they will change their personality to fit a new version of what they want that character to be. For example, Melina is a different person in the old timeline than she is in MK9, and she's a different person in MKX than she is in MK9, even though X is the sequel to 9.
Yes. They made her into a waifu. For, like, no, that's not her character.
No, they retconned her face.
They try to make her look more human when that's supposed to be the exact opposite of
the whole point. The whole point of the Melina character, like the core, the number one on the list of things about her, is that when the mask comes off, she's supposed to be hideous and scary. And people find MKX Melina cute, which means you did it wrong.
She's the living embodiment of Beauty and the Beast. Like, living, you know, with that. And when I say I do not like Melina, I think Mortal Kombat X is the reason why I don't like her so much. They changed her character so much in X, where it was like, I don't even like this character anymore.
There are things about the way Melina is portrayed in MKX that sort of make sense, and things that are, well, she had to be this way to fit the story they wanted to tell. They changed the character to fit the story, which is not really how good writing works. Good writing, character comes first, and the story fits the character. But MKX Melina... Okay, so I have to start at the beginning. Old timeline Melina was created way before MK2, and she and Kitana, at least some amount of time, grew up together. And so when Kitana turned bad, Melina was the one who was supposed to stop her. And part of that, like, you go back to Melina's creation. The story of Melina's creation in the old timeline was that she was supposed to be a perfect clone. Shao Kahn wanted to replace Kitana because he was afraid that one day she'd find out about her past and turn on him, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much the same in both timelines. But in the old timeline, Shang Tsung using a bit of Tarkatan DNA, or like vicious and loyal, when it caused her to turn out with that mouth, Shao Kahn went, well, she's not identical to Kitana. This project was a failure. And Shang is like, well, don't throw it away, don't kill it. What if we gave it another job? And so they decided to have Melina continue to exist, pretending to be Kitana's sister, so that she could spy on her. And so Melina grew up knowing that Shao Kahn thought she was a failure, knowing that Shao Kahn liked Kitana better. And so Melina's whole thing in the old timeline was that the insecurity and the want for attention and to prove herself to Daddy. In the new timeline, Melina's very different because she's basically a newborn. She's created during the game. And so her and Kitana have no relationship to each other. There's no sisterly feelings at all. And also, Shao Kahn approves of her despite the face, that he wanted a vicious monster rather than a daughter. And so Melina basically has a happy life, and any similarity between her and her old timeline self is just because she's kind of a stupid newborn who hasn't really developed yet. Like,
she's like Toka and Raza off of Turtles 2.
Yeah, she's
like
very
in the new timeline,
simple-minded.
She's like them.
She's
two.
young. And I feel like a lot of the reason they wrote Melina that way in MK9 is because all they wanted was someone who fits the Harley Quinn archetype.
Oh,
someone who's just kind of giggly and fun and viciously insane.
Yeah,
someone who sings and dances while they're killing you. And then you get to MKX, and they go suddenly, well...
super serious.
Yeah, Melina has to grow up all of a sudden, even though she's only 2 years old. Because Daddy's dead and she's the queen now. And it's too sudden and too drastic a change. And it doesn't... Like, it feels like MKX Melina would have made sense in the old timeline, but doesn't fit MK9 Melina.
No. Like, and that... Like, that's... Her story is, like, the main reason why I don't want her coming back. When I said that for me to want a character in Mortal Kombat 11's roster, base roster, there has to be it can't be all gameplay and it can't be all story. They have to work in harmony. So they have to have a good story and a good gameplay. Now Melina, yeah, she has some pretty cool gameplay, not gonna lie. But what's she gonna give us in terms of story? They've already fucked her up, and we don't even know if this is like Mortal Kombat 9 OG timeline or if this is OG Midway timeline.
Yeah, that's a good question, because it feels like, and this goes back to what I said earlier about how every game retcons the hell out of the previous game. If you look at Cabal's bio in MK11, he's completely different from MK9 Cabal. Like, they just threw his story from 9 out the window, even though his story in 9 happens on screen. Like, they are literally retconning chapters of story mode that we've played through now. They're not just retconning bios.
Yeah.
Which means the Melina we get in 11 could just be old timeline Melina. She could have actually grown up with Kitana as sisters.
Yeah.
Which makes me go, why did I even bother playing 9 if you were going to erase the whole game?
Yeah, I absolutely do hate the whole multiverse and time thing. I think they should have just still went...
Well, it's not even... I don't even think they intend it to be a multiverse thing. I think they just go into every game not taking what they've written before seriously and going, we can change whatever we want. In their minds, I think this Cabal is the same Cabal as the one we had in MK9. They're just retconning him.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think.
And that's my problem with the storytelling ever since MK9, is they just retcon everything. All the time. There's no reason to follow a story if the moment you're done reading a chapter, the next chapter erases it.
Yeah.
Why would you read that book? How could you follow along? It wouldn't make sense.
So, like, Melina is not the only character they have done this to, though. Like, Scarlet's completely fucked now. Like, the one thing I liked Scarlet about, and the most interesting thing, she's a construct just like Melina and Ermac, but her power is absorbing. Her power was absorbing blood through the skin, and getting the strength of those warriors in her body. She was basically like Rogue, is it? In a way,
sort of.
Not Power's way, but being able to like get some of the strength off that blood. It's not any of that now.
No,
like, she's just some fucking bitch that just walked up, or she's just some random woman now that said, "Oh, hey, I want to learn blood magic," and Shao Kahn, here you go.
Yeah, apparently she was just some orphan child that Shao Kahn like picked up off the street because.
Oh my God, another orphan story.
Because what, he took pity on her? Since when does Shao Kahn like feel bad for starving children?
Like, and oh my God, I hate how they redesigned. They made her look like Mira off of Killer Instinct, and I can't get that image out of my head now. It's like every time I look at Scarlet, I think of Mira. The way that she plays.
There is a lot about the current version of Scarlet that feels incredibly derivative to me. Like, she was already an MK9. Her moveset was kind of a combination of Melina moves and Nitara's Blood Ball. And now, she's more like a vampire than ever. And when they do things like this, when they steal the gimmick of a 3D era character and give it to a new character, it feels to me like saying, we could have fixed the 3D era character, we just don't want to.
It's
like, look at how many things Kano has stolen from Su Hao over the past couple games. If so many things about Su Hao were worth borrowing on, then what was wrong with Su Hao? What made him a bad character if so many things about him are worth taking and keeping? It just kind of... It proves those characters weren't even bad in the first place.
Yeah, I even said on yesterday's podcast about the unpopular opinions of me liking the 3D era characters. And even though history hates the 3D era, me and him are bridged on, if he hates the characters because of how they were written, but he did not deny that these characters will never be good. What I want is just them to be redesigned and have like more into the story.
Yeah, just actually try.
And that's what history wants as well. He doesn't hate the characters because they, it's because they're poorly written and they're poorly designed. They need update.
I mean, there are more opportunities and more resources to give to a character now than there were in those games. Like, we have intros now, so characters get to talk and have a personality.
Yes.
When you played Shujinko's Conquest and you ran into Kira somewhere and you talked to her, she didn't feel like a person. She's a main character in the game. She's a playable character, but when you talk to her in Conquest, it doesn't feel like they had anything for her. They didn't really give her a personality. She's just another NPC who hands you a fetch quest. And that's why Kira doesn't feel like a character. That's why she feels poorly written, underdeveloped. That would not happen at all if she just existed in a current game. Yeah, by default, if she was on the roster, she would immediately have more than she had in Deception. Because intros exist, because the game engine is better, because they would have to put some effort in. Just some baseline goddamn effort.
Yeah.
And that's what I was talking about with MK9 Striker. Stryker was a terrible character in MK3. In MK9, he's legit as hell. Like, I like MK9 Stryker. The worst part about MK9 Stryker is that he died, because being a Revenant is totally doesn't fit him.
Now he's just some side character in X.
Yeah, but he went right back into the background after all that work they did putting into to improve him. And then you look at... So the thing that frustrates me about, for example, they did bring Bo Raicho back as a playable character as MKX DLC. And so here they had this opportunity to take a guy that clearly Ed Boon is a fan of, but the fan base has always kind of hated Bo Raicho. They think he's a joke. And they could have completely redesigned his moves. They could have taken all of the things that make Drunken Masters cool in, like, a Jackie Chan movie, and just done that. And he does have a lot of new and cool moves in MKX, where the drunken boxing, you know, his strings are good, and he has all these moves where he, like, drinks and then breathes fire. He has a move where he kind of does lose Flying Dragon Kick, using his cane to pole vault, which makes perfect sense because he is the guy who taught Liu Kang the Flying Dragon Kick, so he should have a version of his own. They did good there, but they also gave him a special move where he farts at you.
Yes.
Which does not fix the problem. People are still looking at that guy and thinking of him as a joke character, as an ugly character, as a character they don't want. So they had an opportunity to fucking fix a guy. All they had to do was leave out something from the 3D era and design him new moves, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then they did the same thing with Tanya. They kept those dumb bladed tonfas when her MK4 moveset was perfectly fine just the way it was. And it's like they don't, you know, they look at a 3D era character and they know intellectually that they've been told that character didn't work and wasn't popular. But they never seem to understand what about them didn't work. They don't know why. So they don't know which part to redesign. And that's what's frustrating.
Absolutely. And let's see what... Oh god, this point. So since you are an artist,
yeah,
I had this subject for a little bit. Will you please describe the difference between sexualization and realism? Because people are not getting the fact of, okay, there's a reason why the women of Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 wore what they wore back then. And now I think that's getting lost in translation now.
Right. Well, so realism is not a word I ever like to use for a fictional universe, like for a fantasy story, because there's nothing realistic about people who fly and shoot fireballs.
Yeah.
What you really want to be calling it
immersion.
is, immersion. You want it to feel like within the rules of this fantasy universe, the thing you're looking at could make sense. So, and the other thing, like, as an artist, the thing about costume design is that character has to come first, and then concerns about could this actually work have to be like a second or even a distant third to other elements. So, for example, when I draw Kitana, I give her shoes heels. Because I don't care about all the people in the world who say that you could never fight in high heels. What I care about is that heels create a look. They create an image of elegance and gracefulness and dexterity. a woman who is standing on heels has to have an almost supernatural amount of balance. And for those of us, for those in the chat right now, the picture on the screen is my artwork. And so you can see in this picture what I'm talking about when I say that when you design characters who are supposed to look like they're from MK2, you know, they need to resemble MK2. And, you know, I took the liberty to make them more detailed and to make them graphically improve them. But it's like, if you were to squint and blur your eyes, they still kind of look like an MK2 sprite a little bit. You know, like my Scorpion, his V has a quilt pattern on it. My Katana is wearing a blue one-piece with, like, long gloves and thigh-high boots. You know, my Shang Tsung... My Shang Tsung for MK2 is actually based on what they did in Deadly Alliance, where they took his outfit from the MK1 comic book, and they changed the colors from red and gold to black and gold. Because that vest he has on looks just like the suspenders from MK2, it's just more detailed. And that's exactly the kind of thing you want to do when you redesign. You want to make it look the same, but more detailed. But, like, what I was saying about high heels, like, it's about demonstrating something about the character. Like, I would never put Sonya in heels because she's from the military. Therefore, she should be wearing army boots. That's fairly simple, I should think. But Katana is a graceful, supernatural assassin from a fantasy dimension that's based on feudal Japan. So she should look like a Japanese ninja, and she should look, you know, beautiful and graceful, and like she can fight in high heels without it being a problem for her. Like, and I'll give you another example. Sindel's outfit in MK9 is one of the ones that I would say was successful, that does accurately look like an MK3 outfit. And Sindel has stiletto heels in that game that she actually uses to stab a couple of the characters to death in that big scene where she kills everybody. So she's even using her heels as a weapon.
Those are some strong-ass heels, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I mean, they would have to be.
But yeah, when it's not hard to design characters the right way in context.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 11 is time travel. You are going back to a time period where you know, these characters, let's see, 90 at that time would have been 93. These characters look like they're from 93. And I don't get why Katana... Let me bring up what Katana looks like now. The classic Katana that everybody is referring to. So
yeah, the one they have now, it does have like little elements that resemble previous games. She's wearing a headband like she had in MK2. Her hair is in a bun like Ultimate MK3. And her top, her like corset thing, does kind of look like Shaolin monks. But she's also got shoulder pads for some reason. I don't know what those are adding. They just seem to be flair for no reason.
I think they're going too much into the comic book character look for Mortal Kombat. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's just armor. Armor in general is unnecessary on a lot of characters. Like, there are very few characters I feel like need shoulder pads or, you know... And again, the argument keeps getting made that these people fight characters with swords, and so they should be armored. And the point I keep making is, well, you're not really supposed to have brought a sword to the tournament. It's a karate tournament. Like, when Scorpion pulls out his spear, he's kind of cheating. Baraka is kind of cheating. I mean, it's part of his biology. So... But still, like... Johnny Cage showed up to that tournament expecting karate, not expecting Katana to pull out a bladed fan and cut him across the chest. and that's why he didn't come in a medieval knight's breastplate.
Yeah.
He came shirtless. And Johnny Cage is such a good fighter that he can survive shirtless against somebody with a sword. And that's all of the characters in Mortal Kombat are supposed to have like superpowers and be very competent and be able to survive getting cut with a sword. They don't even need armor. Like if they're all wearing armor and they're still getting X-rayed, then the armor didn't work, did it?
I mean, like, yeah. I don't get, like, why all the redesigns have to look the way they do.
Yeah.
And
it's just, I mean, you look at my art again, and the point I keep trying to make, like, I didn't just base them on MK2. Every single design I make, I'm looking at elements from all of the games. Because one of the goals of my art was to try to make the MK1, 2, and 3 outfits sort of fit the Deadly Alliance and Deception outfits better, like show an evolution. So, for example, my katana, there are many elements of her outfit that are based on her Deadly Alliance costume. Like, I have it open at the sides with these crisscrossing seams with this like fishnet underneath, because that's that purple outfit that she wears in Deadly Alliance looks like that. And I wanted, so every outfit I want to like respect the history. And that's what I feel like the current designers at NetherRealm never respect the history. Every outfit looks completely new and different from all of the past outfits, even when they're supposed to be from the past, time traveling to the present, or a retelling of the past. They always come up with new shit for like a katana or a scorpion, and then it looks super weird when they're standing next to Johnny and there he is in his trilogy costume. And it's like, one of these things is not like the others. One of these things just doesn't belong.
Yeah, and like, I don't like the art design that's going on to this game right now. And you see, like, in game too, like Johnny, you see Baraka, you see, you know, Liu Kang with their shirts. Okay, hold up. Let me show this real quick. So, I get Baraka's a part of a tribe, and you know it's all this, but do you really, like, that is going way out there?
Well, like, I mean, again, it's Shao Kahn and Goro and Kintaro dress the same way as this, and none of these social justice warriors ever complain about those guys showing too much skin.
Yeah.
And it's hypocrisy. Like, it's okay for a man shows his bare thighs and it's not sexual, but a woman shows her bare thighs and it is. And all I keep thinking is, but again, what about gymnasts and swimmers? Do we need to start censoring the Olympics? Is that the next step for these people?
Yeah, and another point that I want to bring out is that look at the body types of the women. Okay, let me bring this out. We were trying to figure out what this was. I'm believing that it is Soul Calibur 5. This was a picture of, you know, the development team working on designing each female to be unique. You know, have their different heights, have their different body types. You know, some of them were slender, some of them were, you know, thicker. You know, some of them were, you know, had different cup sizes. Every woman in Mortal Kombat 11 looks like they have the same model. And even though that is a kind of like, you know, that's a normal thing for NetherRealm, I think that should have changed this game.
Oh yeah, that should have changed several games ago. Like, every woman has the same body in 9. Every woman has the same body in X. The cyber ninjas have the same bodies as everybody else, even though their skeletons are supposed to be completely different. Like, you do an X-ray on Sector in MK9, and it's the same bones as everybody else. They just colored them silver and put some, like, glowing lines on the organs.
Yeah.
But you play MK3, and when you stun a cyber ninja, you can see through them, and their skeletons look like they've got this, like, metal drum for a rib cage, and they've got, like, they look like a Terminator on the inside. It's a very different skeleton, and they did not bother to model that at all for MK9. And, you know, Triborg as a character next, they didn't change his skeleton from anybody else. And I'm not even sure, is Triborg supposed to have meat inside, or is he a full robot? You know?
Cyborg, so, I mean, I think
I guess he's a cyborg,
meat,
but what person is he made out of? Like, did they just grow a clone in a tube and throw the armor on it, and he was never a real person?
Oh, now I see what you're meaning. That's,
because a cyber ninja is made out of an existing human being. There was a human Sector and a human Cyrax before they stuck all that armor on.
Now you can just download, you know, the fighters, you know.
Yeah, no, like, system. What is Triborg made out of?
But with this picture, I want you to think of something. So, of course, Ivy is at the very left. You know, she's the tallest woman. She is the one with the, of course, the big kahunas. Now, of course, Ivy, with her character, it makes sense for her to be very tall and have big cup sizes. For the mere fact that she's, in a way, a dominatrix. You know?
Yeah, she leans into that archetype very heavily. She's a very, like, large, strong, powerful, dominant woman, and she uses a sword that turns into a whip to, like, get you down on your hands and knees and choke you and things like that.
And it's like body types can... okay, so what I'm getting at with this is that body types can tell a character.
Yeah.
You know, different, like, and with all this body positivity shit, I can't believe, like, you know, you don't have some women that are, you know, I wouldn't say chunky, but, you know, some women that may have, like, are like 150 pounds, 120 pounds, you know, 170. Like, you're not.
Yeah, like
you're using the same model.
Sindel should have a very differently shaped body from Cassie Cage. Absolutely, and I think she actually does an X just because Sindel is mostly made out of reused MK9 assets.
Yeah.
But I bet if they actually had made a new Sindel for that game, her and Cassie would not be so different.
And, you know, every girl has a B-sized cup now. It's really weird, you know, to point that out, but you look at all the females for Mortal Kombat, and they all look the same. Like, body-wise, they all look the absolute same. And you come from what I'm saying is Soul Calibur 5. So Soul Calibur 5 came out like what? Let's see, Calibur 5. I mean this had to be like a while ago. Yeah, 2012.
I want to say something like 2012.
2012. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to guess.
So we're talking about a game that came out last generation in 2012. The developers cared about what the characters looked so much that they are willing to do anatomy, different body types. They were able to, or they were willing to go that extra mile of making every female character look unique.
Well, I would say Namco has always put more effort into their games than NetherRealm, because, like, they had talking intros since, like, Soul Calibur 1 or 2, and we didn't get those until X.
Yeah.
I mean, we had people spout one catchphrase, the same catchphrase over and over in MK9, but I remember, like, being on MKO way back in the day, like when Deadly Alliance and Deception were the games, and I was just like constantly, saying, "Hey, why does Soul Calibur have this thing and MK doesn't? This would be good for the characters. It would help flesh them out." And you know, you had things like Soul Calibur hired a fencer to do the motion capture for Raphael.
Yeah.
And then they put, like, all that animation, they put his whole kata into the game, and you can see everybody demonstrate their fighting styles in the demo mode. Everybody does a kata, and you can tell they're all different people who were motion captured, and each one of them is an actual expert in their weapon. Now, if you look at the 3D era MK games, every single character is done by Carlos Pesina, even the women. And it's clear that he does not know most of the martial arts that he is animating for. Like, they put all these supposedly real-world fighting styles into Deadly Alliance, Deception, and Armageddon, like Eagle Claw Kung Fu, and Baji Quan, and, you know, Jeet Kune Do, and every damned martial art they could think of. And look, Carlos knows maybe 3 fighting styles in reality, and just kind of stereotyped the rest. Like, especially like the grappling-based ones, like Judo and Eskrima, I'm pretty sure are very, very wrong. Like, the animations are not at all what they should be. And that, they never have really... I mean, they've gotten better, but it's always in baby steps.
Yeah.
Even with the time and budget that they put into the games now that they have as NetherRealm Studios, there's still a lot of things that they haven't caught up to other fighting games on yet. And one of those things is the fact that, like, Tekken and Soul Calibur and Street Fighter, they make every single character fresh. They don't reuse any of the bodies. And MK games always reuse all the bodies.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, also with, you know, talking about Soul Calibur and, you know, other games as well, because of stuff... Okay, so you look at Dead or Alive, what of course, you know, they were going to try to make Dead or Alive 6 into. And then you look at... they were trying to make Dead or Alive 6 more tournament friendly. I'm sorry, Dead or Alive is not a tournament game. I mean, it has good mechanics, yeah, but no one is looking at Dead or Alive for a tournament.
Yeah,
They're
going
to want Tekken, and they would be more interested in Soul Calibur 6's tournament than they would ever be with Dead or Alive 6.
I think they were caught between a rock and a hard place with that. You have to try with the environment that fighting games are now, where esports is so important to making money as a fighting game. They had to try.
Yeah. And, I mean, I don't hate them for trying. I'm just... to throw your fans to the side like that. And, you know, even though, yes, we did know that, you know, breast physics and that stuff, the mere fact that the... hold up, let me bring this point up, because because this was something that really bothered me as a Dead or Alive fan. So I bet I have it somewhere. Oh, over here. Dead or Alive 6. So the game director, which is kind of going with the same thing of, you know, Mortal Kombat now. He said that he wanted to take the he wanted to take a more American comic approach, which, for the love of God, why would you ever use that? For one. But you know, it's, you know, he says, to sum it up, this is going to be or going for a very cool, mature look compared to the other games. And I was like, okay. But the game director said that he didn't want fans to feel embarrassed while playing Dead or Alive 6. I had a huge problem when he said that, because that was a slap on the face to anybody that has liked Dead or Alive 2, Dead or Alive 3, Dead or Alive 4, and Dead or Alive 5. To say that you know, oh, we should be feeling embarrassed for a game that we love. I think I took that a very, very wrong way, and
yeah, it's not good. I think if I was going to be embarrassed about anything as a Dead or Alive consumer, it would be that
the DLC.
The DLC packs cost $100. Yeah.
I mean, I've even Dead or Alive was one of the first games that I've played on Xbox. My first game to play on Xbox, Destroy All Humans. Then it was Halo Combat Evolved, and then my stepdad got Dead or Alive Ultimate. You know, the twin pack.
Yeah.
Now, as a kid, we didn't have the Xbox for very long. I played the shit out of Dead or Alive and loved it. Didn't get back into Dead or Alive till Dead or Alive 5. I bought the game on my Vita, played it on the bus, and you know, with the girl screams and stuff, I didn't feel embarrassed. Because once people saw, like, oh, okay, it's just Dead or Alive, yeah, who cares? Nobody felt embarrassed by that. And, you know, that's what I'm seeing with Mortal Kombat 11 now. And it's we're going for a more mature look, and it's like, no, you're not. Covering up women does not mean you're being more mature. And
yeah, it's sort of like, okay, when... This is a point that I think you made before we started the show to me, that, or maybe it was a point that I just saw on the Nethercast Discord, but when the ESRB was created, when everybody was accusing Mortal Kombat of being too violent, Boone and Tobias's response to that was really to not respond at all and just keep making their game. And I think whenever you have a group of people who is moralizing or soapboxing about an issue, and you don't ignore them and keep doing what you were going to do, A, you're compromising your own artistic vision, and B, you're giving them more power by actually, like, acknowledging them. They feel validated, and they will keep doing it harder and stronger instead of going away like they should.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like the argument of, like, adults shouldn't watch cartoons are for children. Maturity is not being worried about what other people think. You know, if you're a truly mature person and you want to watch a cartoon as an adult, you'll just watch it and you won't care, and it won't... There's nobody standing outside your window pointing and laughing at you. You're a grown-ass man. Live your life how you want to live it.
Yeah.
And so that's... I feel the same way about any time there's, like, a moral debate, anytime there's, like, you know, it's... The liberals of today have the same weird hang-ups as the soccer moms of the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't get that, because when I was a kid, all the puritanical people were the conservatives, and liberals were about personal freedom. And that's, like, I consider myself politically a liberal, or at least that's what I was way back in, like, the Bush administration. Because when W was in office, you know, my beliefs were things like, why can't gay people get married? Why can't weed be legal? Why can't somebody get an abortion? It's their choice. That's their body. That's their life. It's not hurting other people.
Yeah.
People should be allowed to live how they want to live. It's about freedom, and those were liberal values. And now it seems to have reversed, where the liberals are the people who want to tell other people what to do. And the people who seem to be fighting the most for personal freedoms and to be, like, allowed to do what they want, weirdly enough, seem to be the conservatives. And I think it's so hard because it's like, I haven't changed, but the goalposts have been moved around me. So now what was liberal, I guess I'm a centrist?
I'm particularly right-leaning, but me being right-leaning doesn't mean I don't believe in it. I'm actually an egalitarian, which anybody that doesn't know, egalitarianism is basically equal rights for everybody. Doesn't matter the race, doesn't matter if you're male or female. I'm not saying all genders. It doesn't really matter, who you are. Yeah, you do you, but the moment that you start treading on my shit, I'm gonna be kind of pissed. And this is kind of my shit. So you're kind of treading on it. I don't like that. I kind of want to be like free.
Yeah. And it feels like when there's an artist who comes into a thing, and artists tend to be stereotypically a very liberal group of people. In the current political climate, when you hear about an artistic person professionally come into a TV show or a movie or a video game, and they bring in this idea of it's always women wearing this isn't realistic, they should be covered up more, ignoring whether or not that same franchise has shirtless men. It's always the damn same. But whenever someone comes in and does that, it seems like their goal is not to represent the characters accurately in the art they create. It's to serve their personal political message, to use the game as a soapbox or an outlet, or to turn all of the cast that is now under their power as an artist to design, turn the whole cast into these almost role model figures, where if all of the women are covered up, no matter whether their personality is to dress that way or not, then the audience will be influenced by that, and it'll like children growing up playing Mortal Kombat, which they should not be doing because it's an M-rated game, will be less inclined to objectify women just because Katana has her abs covered.
I mean,
which I don't get that.
I mean, it's a prime example for me because like I've grown up with the looking at the I guess Mortal Kombat 3, but the trilogy costumes. I've grown up with deception and how the women look in there, and I've never thought of like sexuality and shit. Like no, I'm perfectly.
Yeah, I mean the only time I've thought of the women like that is when they wanted me to, which is Deception Melina and
Melina.
MK9 Melina. That's deliberate because Melina, to dress like that actually fits her character. Like if you look at her personality. In the old timeline and in the new, like in the old timeline, you look at her issues, she's desperate for attention and approval. She has daddy issues. She has an ugly face, but a pretty body, and she wants people to look at the body, not the face.
Yeah, and now they totally fucked that with
so this is a person who would dress to show a lot of skin. That's what fits her character.
I'm afraid of what they're gonna do to her now. I mean, we've already seen what they did with Scarlet. I'm afraid.
Now they just change the characters every game, so it doesn't seem to matter anymore.
Also, like how do you feel when I say this? Did you know that Harada was going to make some characters for Tekken 7, but because of today's climate, he thought it would be better to not do them? Like it's weird, and yeah, Harada is that guy that he doesn't give a shit. But
I mean, I would be worried about that because Japan has historically not given a shit what America thinks when it comes to that.
I mean,
and
you
that's
see it with the game. I mean, you see it with Tekken 7. I mean, they legit doesn't even matter if you're a guy or a girl. You can be a Kuma and wearing the
yeah,
sumo
it's like
underwear.
a sumo wrestler thing.
Yeah.
It's like underpants.
Yeah, you can be a guy and wear that, but I've heard that Harada has taken aback by making some characters for the mere fact that should I do that in today's political climate? Will I offend anybody by doing this? And if that is true, Jesus Christ, how far have we fallen?
Well, I wonder how far those characters would have gone, because like most of the characters in Tekken are already
Established.
dressed. I mean, nobody is like naked, but
well, I don't even think it's covering up either. I think it's more of a maybe how they dress and maybe who they are.
well, you know what I think it might be is I'm reminded of which Julia Chang in previous games tended to wear Native American stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think her character actually is Native American. And I know when they released her as DLC for 7, she doesn't dress like that anymore.
Yeah, deforestation and yeah.
It might have been that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like that may have been what he had in mind.
I swear I've heard it from somewhere. I don't know what. But I've heard it from somewhere that Harada was thinking about making a few characters. And it just he wasn't
I'm not that bothered unless one of the characters that didn't make it into 7 because of this specifically is Christy, because Christy's my character. And she does, like, her top is kind of skimpy. But you could just change the costume, man. Like,
yeah. And I mean, this is my final argument for about this. The women and cosplayers, like, holy shit, like, how, and wore deception attire and wore all that, and there are women that are actually against this. Liana K, Nerdette's Newsstand, Dark Titan Enterprise. There's a group of women like that are really against this.
Yeah, and you notice, like, MKX came out, and Melina cosplayers still wear the 9 outfit.
Yeah.
They don't wear the X outfit. Like, and I mean, there's a lot of cosplayers who choose a character to dress as because they want to look sexy, because it makes them feel more confident about themselves, because it feels good to be attractive.
Yeah.
And then there are, cosplayers who just want to look cool, who want to pick the costume that is the most interesting or the best designed. And MKX Melina isn't that great an outfit. It just kind of looks like somebody pulled a bunch of leather scrap out of a junkyard and sewed it together.
Me myself, I am not a cosplayer, but if you are listening to this, like, please comment down like how you feel about it, like, because like he said, even with Mortal Kombat X Melina, women still wore Mortal Kombat 9 Melina, and it's like going back to like other games as well. Ivy cosplay, girls who've cosplayed Kasumi, in even after Dead or Alive 5, nobody's cosplaying the Kasumi primary costume. They're all doing the costume that she's had throughout all the games. It really makes me happy to see that women are kind of revolting over this shit. Like, hey, listen, you don't really speak for us. This, to us, this doesn't mean maturity or anything. This is, immersion, not really.
Well, I'm sort of reminded of, and I hate to bring up the Gamergate thing from a few years ago.
Oh God.
Yeah, Gamergate sort of started as a decent idea, complaining about the fact that basically we all know video game journalism is a bunch of bullshit, that these people have no credentials and their opinion shouldn't matter. Anybody who writes for a website is a fraud.
Yeah.
Nobody who in the games journalism industry even has a journalism degree from a college. They're all just people who write for the internet, who got their jobs over the internet. And
now they want easy mode in Sekiro. Like, come on now.
Yeah, there's none of them even play video games, and that's why so many like super popular video games, like you look at reviews for like a Devil May Cry,
Resident
Evil. These people don't understand the game, so they rate it low. And but then look at how it sells. It's obviously a good fucking game based on that.
Yeah. Oh, I want to try out Devil May Cry, but I don't have space on my on my PS4. I would. Yeah,
but like so Gamergate kind of started as a decent idea, but it very quickly grew into a shit show where it's just people being mean to each other over Twitter. And so it amounted to nothing much really, but there was an offshoot of it where hashtag not your shield. And the idea of it was minorities and women who were pro-Gamergate basically saying, hey, journalists, you don't speak for me. I don't like you either.
Yeah.
Because so much of the anti-Gamergate argument was that these people are just racists and sexists. And that, you know, the people who believed in what it was supposed to be about, any of them who were not a white male, they had this hashtag not your shield movement to turn to. And I wish it had made more of a difference, because it's obvious that almost all of social justice warriors are white people.
Oh yeah,
who think they are
white people,
who think they are standing up for minorities, and they're just completely out of touch.
I'm sorry, but where were you? Where were you guys when you know, I was being called a beaner, a border crosser, and shit when I was a kid? I basically defend for myself, and that's why I don't give a shit about anything anymore. You know, you go throw some Hispanic slur at me, I don't even give a shit. I probably will laugh at it at a point now.
Yeah, it's just there's so many these pretentious white people who think they're enlightened and woke and think they're doing a good thing, speaking up for minorities. Listen, it's 2019. Everybody has the internet. Minorities can speak for their fucking selves.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm hoping that this is like a phase, and it's, we'll be somewhere else socially in a decade from now.
And like, so like, before we close out, like, the podcast and stuff, I want your reasonings on why you, as Razor, care about this so much. Because I have my reasons of why I care about this so much, but I know it bothers you, especially when people in the chat talk about, this subject.
Yeah. I mean, it bothers me as an artist, because I just want the costume designs to be the best they can be, and if this is one of a number of elements that are getting in the way of that, it's hurting the fucking franchise. I want characters to look like they're supposed to look, man. I want MK to be pure MK and to not have fucking real world politics involved. It's a fantasy story. It shouldn't have anything to do with somebody's beliefs in the real world. Like, your politics shouldn't matter in this fictional universe. Fiction, for a lot of people, is the whole reason exists for them is to escape from their fucking real world concerns for a little while, And Nothing turns me off of a fictional work more than when it's just somebody's soapbox. When you can tell that the fourth wall has been broken so that the author can get up at the podium and tell you a moral. And even if I agree with the moral, this is not where it belongs. And you know, it hurts me as a fan of Mortal Kombat to sit here. You know, I'm not employed by NetherRealm, and I don't make any money drawing Mortal Kombat characters. You know, I don't take commissions, I don't have a Patreon, there is no profit in fan art for me. I do it purely out of passion, purely out of love of the franchise, and the belief that what I see it as, what I draw, is what it should be. This is the pure form. The with proper respect paid to the story and to the personalities of the characters and to the history and what they've worn in the past. I put all of that, love and heart and soul into the work. And then I turn around and I play the video game, the official version of Mortal Kombat that is released by the company for money. And I think their work isn't as good as mine. It makes me feel like that's not how it should be. I'm an amateur and I'm not employed. My work should not be better than theirs. Their work should be the standard to which I aspire to meet. So, when their product is disappointing, how am I supposed to feel about that? Like, how am I supposed to feel about the fact that I'm a better artist, in my opinion, than the guys who actually work on the fucking thing? And, I have people constantly telling me when they see my work that they like it better than the stuff in the games. How am I supposed to reconcile that? Do I just go, well, I guess Mortal Kombat sucks now, and I'll just go make my own fan fiction, and that'll be what satisfies me instead of playing the games? That's not right. So yeah, that's why I feel so strongly about it. Yeah, and look, there is a place for making a political statement in art. Okay, most artists who get their stuff put in a museum, most paintings are trying to make a statement. And, even there are video games that are trying to have a political message out there. I don't think Mortal Kombat makes sense as one of those. It's not... It's about people who throw fireballs at each other fighting an alien dimension called Outworld, where a guy dresses like, what if Conan the Barbarian were a samurai? And he can steal souls. This is not the place to be talking about whether or not women should wear pants. It doesn't fit.
Yeah, my biggest concern is that, one, we're not going to get the classic costumes now. Now, you can go back to the podcast and tell me I'm wrong after the game's over. But where this direction is currently standing right now, to us, these costumes can be represented in the way that they're speaking about. And the worst thing is that, for the classic skins, for Mortal Kombat 9, were they free?
No, they were DLC.
Oh, really?
Well, some of them were free, and some of them were part of a pack.
I just remember a compatibility pack.
Yeah, I don't think every costume was in the compatibility pack. I think there were a few that you actually had to buy the thing for.
Okay. And I just don't want the skins and gear in a paywall. If we're talking about like going back in time to more, okay, where it's obviously, you know, bringing back characters from Mortal Kombat 2. And we don't have those classic costumes based with the skin system. We only have 6 skins in the DLC. And there's not even like, I think there'll be a, you know, a second, I think there'll be 12 characters in whole for DLC. But we don't know that yet. So there's 6 skins that you can give us. And 6 gear sets that you can give us. I don't want 6 of those being classic costumes. I want those to be already into the game. I mean, for fuck's sakes, look at Dead or Alive 6. They're reusing DLC My Shiranumi that was in Dead or Alive 5. And I mean, that is really scummy to us Dead or Alive fans, but you know, I don't want my costumes locked behind a paywall. You know, what I'm most afraid about is that the precedence of what this will have on future games. If we keep on saying, oh, more mature and more of this, like Mortal Kombat, like Dead or Alive 6, where are we going to be in the future? And me as a Gen Z kid, as someone who is 19, grown up with this stupid social justice shit, and has gotten fed up with it, where are we going to be in the future? Is every woman going to be covered up just because they want to act more mature? And it's not even covered up for the mere fact of sexuality. It's covered for the mere fact of, hey, let's just do this because
it's an advertising thing. It's a stunt, really. It's about getting a pat on the back from a certain group on the internet that reads articles.
Yeah.
And those people aren't even going to buy the game. And I don't know. So, you know, you worry about whether or not the game will have true classic skins. Especially considering, like, you look at Scorpion's second outfit is obviously supposed to be reminiscent of a classic skin. You know, it's supposed to look kind of MK2-ish. And you know, people will say, oh, don't worry, they had classic skins in the past 2 games. We'll surely get them again.
Yeah.
But what always worries me about that is, in the Injustice games, they never get classic skins.
Oh, yeah, no.
It is impossible to play an Injustice game and get a Superman that looks like he does in the comics with the red underpants. It doesn't exist. There is no DLC for that, and there never has been and there never will be. And that's baffling to me because WB also puts out the Arkham games, and you look at how many skins Arkham Knight has. Oh, yeah. And it's literally every costume Batman has ever worn in a cartoon, movie, or comic book. Every costume ever. But NRS won't do it.
Yeah, I mean...
And it's like, that's the main reason that I won't play Injustice games, is because I can't make them look like they do in the comic books. When I play a superhero video game, I don't want to see Green Lantern look like Master Chief. I want to see Green Lantern look like Green Lantern.
I mean, like, the closest thing I can make anything classic was Catwoman in fucking Mortal Kombat versus DCU. That's about the only thing classic that I can think of that I can make.
I mean, you can strip enough pieces off of Superman that he kind of looks like the New 52 outfit, but he's still got all these lines and seams on him. You cannot get classic Superman. And if you try, there is a palette for Batman that is supposed to make him gray and blue, but part of the blue section is these stripes on his arms. Those don't exist in the comics.
Yeah.
why did they screw up the color scheme like that? And they've got a palette for Robin that's supposed to be the Tim Drake color scheme, and in the comics that color scheme is a red bodysuit with black on one side of the cape and yellow on the other side. And this one is like red with black and green on the inside of the cape, I think. Like, there's no way to make it accurate. And they just, all throughout that game, there's these little hints of like, oh boy, if I can just unlock this, I'll finally have an accurate thing. I'll finally have a thing that looks like the comics. And then you get it, and you look at it, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
There are only 2 characters in that entire goddamn game who look like comic book characters, and it's Jay Garrick and Bizarro.
I like that's why I'm so afraid of this shit, man. It's like we're going to get to a point where the classic costumes are called sexy and shit like that when they're not even supposed to. The
MK2 outfit for Katana, Melina, and Jade doesn't look sexy to me at all. It's kind of... It's plain and it's kind of baggy. It looks outdated.
Yeah.
But it is what they wore in that game. It's like...
It's what they wore in the era.
Yeah, it's like... It is similar to a one-piece swimsuit or a gymnast's outfit. It is not sexual, it's just athletic.
Yeah. But, we'll have the SJWs coming over here saying, oh, wearing too much skin. Let's put this on her. Let's put this on her.
Yeah, I can see her ankles. Cover that up.
Yeah. I don't...
I don't understand how...
my generation so much, man. It's like... people will hate their generation just to look cool. I legitimately hate mine. You can't make a joke without being called an istrophobic. You can't show a liking to something of the past without thinking, oh, now you're just a horn dog. Oh, no, now you're an incel. Like, I mean, for fuck's sakes, I had my Jade shit, and people were like, oh, what are you, fucking, dweller or some shit? I'm like, oh, God. Really? I don't get it.
I don't understand how... I mean, the Democrats used to be the hippies, right?
Yeah.
How did we go from, like, free love to being the ones who are, like, puritanical?
Yeah, and it's like, what I've been noticing as someone in the right, my lefty friends actually grew to hate their party because they keep on going down this route of, oh, yeah, you're gay, but are you gay and black? It's all about brownie points now. And it's like, with what I'm seeing is that liberals aren't liberals anymore. They're socialists. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, me as a person that tends to be on the right side can definitely tell that this is not left leaning. This is definitely a different party, but they just disguise themselves as liberal. I don't really get it all that much, but I don't get how we can get so radicalized in this type of shit.
I blame the internet. I think that Tumblr has made us dumber and worse at talking to each other.
Tumblr, safe space ahoy.
I think Tumblr it's sort of like, if I think about like 10, 15 years ago, when furries became a thing, that never could have happened without the internet, because what the internet does is it lets people who normally would be outcast and alone find other people just like them. And there are good sides to that, and then there are also bad sides to that, where, like, if the thing you are all about is something shameful, like, Like all the fat adult men who called themselves bronies, and who turned the fact that they like a children's cartoon into some kind of rallying cry to basically enable all these like weird, gross habits that have nothing to do with liking that cartoon.
Yeah.
And because, like, it's what... I don't have a problem if you watch My Little Pony, man. Just don't act like a fucking weirdo.
I don't give a shit if you like Ninja Turtles. Just don't ship don't ship the brothers together. That's all I fucking care about. That's all I saw on Instagram was they call it fucking T-cest. I'm like, dude, you guys are degenerates. You're pretty disgusting.
There's no... It's... Anybody can find somebody just like them, no matter how fucked up they are.
Oh yeah, no.
And again, sometimes that's a good thing. You know, people who grew up nerds, people who played Dungeons and Dragons and were like, you know, shamed by religious people in the neighborhood for that, as though, you know, playing a role-playing game has anything to do with the devil. Now they can just find people online who they want to play with.
Well, see, and me personally, I don't like Dungeons and Dragons, but without Dungeons and Dragons, we wouldn't have Doom. So, I mean, I'm even though I don't like it, I can get behind it. I mean, I don't.
It's just a game, is my point. Like, so, like, being a nerd in general, like us as fighting game fans, the internet has allowed us to find people to play with that we never would have once the arcades died.
Yeah.
So, you know, there are plenty of upsides to the internet. The downside is that people talk like idiots. You know, Twitter was one of the worst things to ever happen to the English language. Because if you talk like a text message in a text message, sure, you're saving time. It is difficult to type on a phone. Go for that. I have no problem with it. But if you now have an entire internet platform based on typing everything the length of a text message,
characters, yes.
And this is a social media platform. This is one of the main ways people communicate with strangers now. How are you ever supposed to say anything intelligent or meaningful using that few of characters? Why does Twitter exist? I don't understand what it does other than make us dumber and worse at talking.
Yeah. And see, that's why I like discussions so much, man. It makes me, you know, happy to hear other people's opinions other than just a fucking, you know, I don't want to be soapboxed. I don't want to be in a safe space. I want to hear other people's opinions on shit. And please, if you listen to the podcast after this and you want to debate, just go to the comments. I won't delete your comments and shit like some other people will, but I won't name names, but you know, I want debates. And, you know, this female skin, yeah, to everybody that played Mortal Kombat 9 and think that it's only because, or it's only to show sexy skin. No, that's not our argument. Our argument is the costumes have not only changed the characters, changed the lore, changed the story, they've also... It's very vague if our favorite costumes are ever going to appear back into Mortal Kombat. Even Deception. Like, we don't even know if Deception Jade is going to probably come back or not. Most likely not.
I feel like costumes from the 3D era have the least amount of chance of ever coming back, because they certainly didn't in the previous two games, and people have been asking for Sub-Zero's Shredder helmet for years and years and years.
Yeah, the gear system with Injustice 2, I was pretty pissed off with the Ninja Turtles and not having that. That would have been so cool.
I don't I don't
whatever.
understand any of Raiden and Sub-Zero's gear in that game because you have the most perfect system to just bring back all of the old costumes, and they didn't bring any of them back except for like MK2 Raiden.
I was able to make Mortal Kombat 9 Raiden barely.
Yeah,
barely.
You can kind of because he only has one set of sleeves that actually cover his arms. And you can make, like, MK3 Sub-Zero almost, sort of.
Yeah.
Like, the arms and legs are never going to be quite right. And I don't understand why you do that. Why would you make all new outfits when you have this whole closet system and everybody's so excited about getting to build the costumes that they love from past games and not put any of the past games' costumes in? Why?
Yeah.
I don't think they understand what the fans actually like about costume builder modes in games.
Yeah, oh god, it's...
But yeah, like, it really is, it's important to drive home that, like, the vast majority of people who are having this conversation about the female skins are just teenagers and or loud ignorant people who basically didn't play the franchise until MK9, and so they think the way they dress in MK9 is how they should dress, and that's not where we're coming from at all.
Yeah, no.
And I think those people are a distraction from the real issue, and it bothers me that they're sort of the louder and the greater in number and the ones getting the attention.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess that's kind of like all we have for this, too.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say about it.
anything from the chat at all? I'm about to close this up because we have to do Mortal Monday. We're playing Mortal Kombat 9 today. Oh God. But you know, we any other claims that you can think of, Razor, that people may have that, you know, you want to debunk real quick? Basically
not really.
Just look through the
I
chat.
agree with. I pretty much agree with all the comments we've got here.
Well, no, I meant like
the most recent one is basically saying that if everybody dresses super conservative, then the fact that Ashra's character is about dressing conservative means less.
Yeah,
I would totally agree with that. Like, it does definitely diminish Ashra as standing out from the crowd. But I also don't know if Ashra's ever going to come back anyway. Like, I mean, that's the problem with the 3D era characters. We want them back, and they never come.
Yeah. I have a whole thing with 3D era characters, and it's mainly the reason why I hate Mortal Kombat's rebooted story. But you know, let's see. I don't even think if we have anything. So is there anything that you're doing like as a future project or anything that you want to basically, you know, support or hype up?
I mean, the Nethercast puts out new content every week. We actually record live from our Discord on Thursday nights. So anybody who's interested in the Nethercast, join Discord.
Yeah.
But yeah, just stay tuned to the channel, and I guess I haven't updated my art on my DeviantArt in quite some time, but I will eventually. So maybe, you know, check that out. The link is in the description, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The description.
Yeah. The link to my MK2 costumes,
yeah.
And you can see my whole DeviantArt from there. I have costumes for MK1 also, and I've written. It's kind of a. I don't really want to call it a fanfic. It's more like how I would do it. It's like an outline of how I would have written the reboot, just the MK1 part of it so far. And that's on my DeviantArt too. And that's sort of a companion piece to the costumes, because it's like there are elements of the costume that are story based, and here's the story to go with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I'm up to lately. Just the DeviantArt and the Nethercast.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know, there's there's a whole lot of content with the Nethercast. They of course do the Warrior Shrines, which is
that's
Jango.
That's the host, Jango and Temp. They do a gameplay based show. Me and Shad do a show called The Lost on the Nethercast channel, which is lore stuff. We do character retrospectives, and we should have an episode about Bihan, Sub-Zero and Noob Saibot, coming out in the next week or so. So look forward to that. And Cyborg and Down Forality do a show called Random Select, which is basically that's sort of their own personal corner where they talk about whatever's new. They do reaction stuff to like trailer just came out. They'll put out one of those, that sort of thing. And then we have like the main podcast, which is most of the hosts we get together on Thursday nights, and we just cover whatever the week's news is.
Yeah. So, with my channel, there's not much coming out. I know I'm probably going to be doing more of this type of stuff before the game comes out. I did feature on a discussion with Legend X Ronin about the unpopular opinions Mortal Kombat edition. That actually went pretty well. I think a lot of people agreed, surprisingly enough, with our stuff about that. With what we had to say. I can't think of what I know we're still doing Mortal Monday. I just got 3 of the items in, so the prize box will be good. I'm gonna be live streaming on Twitch pretty much once more Mortal Kombat renders come out. And I thought about one more discussion, I just can't think of it now. 3D era characters. Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna do. An entire Survive talks about 3D era characters. So, I'm gonna try to blow my brains out or not going to try to blow my brains out because we have no 3D. We have one 3D era character from we only have.
Are we talking about MK11?
Yes, we only have Frost.
Yeah, we have Frost. She hasn't been confirmed yet, but we all know.
Yeah, we all.
So Frost is coming in from Deadly Alliance, and there's always hope for DLC.
Yeah, I know. I just want them to be, or if I want 3D air characters, I don't want DLC. I'd rather have story.
Yeah, you want them to appear in story mode. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I would have wanted Serena. If it I wouldn't change Frost over Serena. I want Frost to be there, but I want one of the characters that have been in probably either Jax, Sonya, or Kano. Probably most likely Kano to be replaced with Serena, for the mere fact that Kuai Liang and Bihan.
Yeah. That's really the missed opportunity of it, is that she appeared in X, but she only talked to like Jax and Kenshi when her whole character is tied up in the Sub-Zero brothers. Yeah, and she never interacts with them at all. What's that about?
To them, yeah. So there's a lot of things that I have problems with their interpretation of the 3D era characters. So I will be doing a dedicated Survive talks on that. But
I think the character that I would want most is Fujin, just because if you're gonna have Raiden be Dark Raiden, then you kind of have to have a good god around to oppose him.
Yeah, I feel if they did that, they'll have the good god versus bad god, and Raiden just ends up killing Fujin.
Well,
which as a Fujin fan, I'd be happy.
Yeah, that's definitely. But I would rather have no Fujin than a dead Fujin.
Yeah. So that's basically everything that I have so far. So after this, I'm gonna be starting Mortal Monday episode 12. I think it is 11 or 12. So yeah, I do want to thank you all for watching. This has been an amazing podcast, and I want to thank Razor for actually being here today, because yeah, you've definitely been outspoken about the skin discussion. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated issue, and I think people are making it too black and white, and that,
Yeah.
that bothers me. So, yeah, thanks for having me on, though.
No, you're fine, especially with how you were responding to the chat, and also the episode that you did on the Nethercast. It was like, this is probably something that does bother him, and his voice probably needs to be out. So,
yeah, I try not to get into it too deep on our show, just because we have so much actual game content to talk about, and I don't want to drag it on for too long.
Yeah, so that's why I actually liked having you on, because this this is definitely something that I know you wanted to talk about. But overall, I think that's it. Oh god, what the Down 4 did. Well, I can't believe this shit just pops off about the beta on the Warrior Shrine. Oh, okay. Okay. I'm gonna have to watch the random select then, or not the random select, the Warrior Shrine, because the impressions are in apparently. So ready for that for work tomorrow. But yeah, I guess that's it. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye, my fellow combatants.